Zander today?
I think just his approach or attitude, I'd say that word delicately, if that's the right way to say it, because, I mean, the kid's attitude, he's about as enjoyable to be around as anyone I've ever coached on game day and not on game day or out of uniform. But he wasn't happy he came out of the game as early as he did last week. And, you know, we're all teammates, but we got different roles. So coaches go with decisions, and when players get their opportunity, they got to go out there and compete. And, man, obviously we owe a lot to Stom and to Beam. But I would say out of the three guys, the one guy that showed right out of the gate that he was going to throw that thing with conviction and he was going to hunt down strike one was Zander. And he didn't want anyone taking the ball out of his hand. And I'm glad we won the game, because an answer I would have had to make in here, if it doesn't go our way, is why'd you take that guy out of the game? He was rolling along pretty good. And, you know, he hadn't been to the seventh inning yet, and we're really, really confident in those guys that were down there, including Kirby, and it could have even been guys after that. So a good team win and a phenomenal outing by him.
Tony, with Vanderbilt winning today, how's it feel to achieve that first goal this season?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to take in. That's very difficult to do. Congrats to anybody in this league that finished with a winning record. It ain't easy. And I think one thing that's reflected with this week in Hoover is if you can finish in the top four, you've set yourself up, you know, pretty nicely. And Arkansas and A&M have done that, and obviously Kentucky had a phenomenal year. And it's kind of weird how it worked out. I remember driving back from South Carolina, and we finished, you know, in first place in the division, 21, I think, because Kentucky beat Vanderbilt. And then, you know, you come to the park today, and we were hoping, you know, Lefty could stick it on Kentucky. That stuff going on. I didn't hear any scores or anything going like that. The guys were just focused on the task at hand. And if you do that, if you have the right approach, more times than not, the result will work itself out.
What does it say about Zander that he came out knowing that there could be big stakes today and through with that conviction you're talking about?
I think he's evolved a lot as a player. I mean, look at what he's been a part of just in our dugout, in the locker room, and then on the field. And then, you know, he's been asked to do more and more as each day or year has gone by for him. And he's shown consistent improvement. And it says a lot about, you know, his work ethic and his character. But I think the biggest thing is, like I was kind of alluding to today, just his determination. I think he's a lot more determined than maybe you'd recognize, because there's not as many fist pumps and things like that. So what you want out of a guy when he enters, you know, your hallways, become better each year, but it doesn't always work out that way. You have to evolve as a player, and he's done that, and he's got more time and more room to continue to do that.
What about Aaron gives you the confidence that he can come in and finish off the game like he did today?
I think the biggest thing is you want to know the guy wants to be out there, and I think he's dying to be out there. And just to peel back the curtain, we were going to go to Kirby, and he came down the end of the dugout and kind of gave it the devil eyes, like, if you take me out, you're going to have to buy new tires. So we let him roll with it, and, you know, he's not the only one, but it's a lot of times he's out there, you almost have to calm him down. So that's the biggest thing. And then he's one of a handful of guys that I think his stuff is different than the others, but which is nice. We've got a lot of guys that kind of complement each other. But just like Banky in a big situation last night, they got the stuff and the willingness to be out there that you trust them. And now, because of last year, those spots we put him in, he can say he's been in about every spot you can imagine, including, I mean, that K-State game was as hyped up as any game we had played to that point, and he started that game. So, valuable pitcher, and I like coaching that dude. I like being on that team, on a team with that guy.
I know you want to enjoy this one, but kind of different phase of the season coming up. How do
Yeah.
you change your approach or mindset, if any, kind of heading to the tournament?
Yeah, I think we talked out there a little bit. We want to wait and see when we're supposed to play on Wednesday, and you always want to compete when you step on the field, but we want to manage it the right way. We're kind of, you know, in a different spot than we were last year for sure, and then this year is unique unto its own. And I guess what I'm getting at is we've already met as a coaching staff, and there's certain things we want to make sure we accomplish while we're there. And so you'd like to win, but we'd also like to check those boxes.
So we talk about the relationship with the fans and what they mean to you guys, especially here at home when you would come out here to Lindsey Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weekend where you could tell there was a difference being made by the fans, especially the first two games. Today was not as explosive as a day, you know, so it's not like they weren't involved, but you really noticed them giving us an edge the previous two nights. And I just congratulated Vince and John, because they're a part of this too. It takes a village. especially if you're kind of coming from, we're pretty blessed, so there's no sympathy needed, but it's not like we have the biggest stadium or the best tradition or this or that. So in order to make progress, like I said, it takes a village, and there's an awful lot of people that have helped, including you all have been good to us, knock on all kinds of wood. So we appreciate that. We recognize that. We don't take it for granted. And it's nice when the guys can celebrate. It was kind of awkward. They went in the lounge and then they went back out there, but it was nice, and we'll see them in Hoover. I mean, the fan bases in Hoover kind of stand out a little bit. They all go down there, they all talk smack, and there's a bunch of them because it's the SEC, but there are about 3 or 4 that tend to have more people than others, and I'm proud that we're in that group.
How do you keep the eye on the prize so you don't have an early exit from Hoover?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm kind of worn out. I think the eye on the prize is for 24 hours, let these guys be kids, and then again, when you finish in the top 4, it's a little easier to manage the situation. But this has been a group that's, according to Drew Gilbert, which is crazy for him to use the word mature, he said when he watches this team, they seem more mature and, kind of keep tunnel vision on what the next thing is in front of them. So I think it's just that. So you get 24 hours to do that stuff, and then if you're packing, you're packing. If we're practicing down there, you practice, and then we don't know our opponent, so just be ready for whatever our next task is.
What's Russ's status going into the week?
So he threw out here, and it's been a question asked frequently, and he's had to, if he's at 100% or at his best, there would have been a time we would have utilized him this week, but we want to proceed, I don't want to say with caution, but with proper sequence. And I think he's anxious and tired of being held back, even though he may or may not be at 100%. So he'll pitch for us at some point. I think the key for him and also our team to recognize is he's not coming to save the day. Right now, we've got a really good group we trust. There's even some guys you could say they're probably thinking they're underutilized. So when he gets into the mix, he's not going to be built up to start or anything crazy. We're looking for 5, maybe 6 outs a week that can support our staff if he's called on to do so. And I think he'll be ready to do that. I know he's anxious to do that.
How important was it for Fargo to have some success going into the tournament?
Good, but he believes in himself, and we do too. And those guys, again, to peel back the curtain maybe more than I should, go visit with them, and they shouldn't feel like the frequent changes come because they did something wrong, so we're trying some other guy. We have the flexibility to go into a game. If we really wanted to, we had the flexibility, if the DH spot gets 4 at-bats, to do 4 different guys, just because one's a bunt situation, and then one we need the ball put in play, and one it's a leadoff. We're looking for a guy just to get on base. But he's got gifted hands, and the one thing about today, whether he would have got good feedback or not, because the first ball he drove well and it got caught, he was moving a lot slower today instead of running at the thing. And Blake Burke hits that home run last night just with a good, easy swing, and it'll be on me to follow through on it. Those guys need video clips of that to see that pace is baseball speed. Just because a guy's throwing harder, he's got good stuff. You try and go faster, you're going to get in trouble. And we saw good stuff this weekend, so it's good preparation for Hoover, because it's going to be, I'd rather be a fan than a coach in Hoover, because it's a show. It's going to be nonstop stuff, and obviously a lot of good players in one area.
What would having Russell back do just from a depth and options perspective for the staff?
I think make you feel better about various scenarios when we plan as coaches. I hate saying it, but worst case scenarios. If you look at this weekend, it went pretty well. Each guy really did his job, about as good as he can. No one was perfect. Beam, great outing, but wasn't great. Stom did his job, but wasn't great. Causey never really got in a flow. I guess Zander was probably the best guy on the whole weekend along with Combs, but no one was perfect, and we were able to piece that thing together without going Lloyd left on left. We really wanted Phillips to face Messina because he's so good. Both guys are so good. So it just added depth, and he started and relieved. So when you get into situations where you play more games than 3, you got a starter. So hopefully that's a decent answer.
How do you handle that juggle of wanting to win in Hoover versus getting guys innings and maybes before the regional play gets going?
Yeah, I caution to say it like this, but it's kind of like certain games we play in the middle of the year, and maybe like opening weekend, we talked about, you really want to go down there and win on opening day, but you got to come out of there with 2 wins. And along the way, your starters are only built up to a certain pitch count. So you kind of got this mapping out scheme of we want to do this, and Bradkey's starting, but we also want to use a guy on the infield in this situation, get Dean some reps. So I think it's possible to scheme and check some boxes and still go compete. If again, I'll use that Dallas tournament. AJ Russell, was speaking to him, he was frustrated we took him out, but he kind of hit his pitch count on the limit. So if you're scheming ahead of time, whether it's pitch counts or making sure a guy gets an outing or an at-bat, at no point should that guy or you not be pushing forward to win the ball game. But I think you can do both, and because it's not a do-or-die tournament, fortunately, because our guys having some success, I think you can do that.
Man, what was the feeling like amongst you guys?
It's always a good feeling, being at the top. So we were all in there, jumping around, cheering, hollering. That's our first goal. We got a couple more left that we'll keep striving towards.
Tell me about today's game and closing things out with a sweep against these guys.
Yeah, no, that feels really good. Kind of keep the momentum going for us going into the tournament. We played a lot better than we did last night. I thought we swung the bat pretty well today. Hit a lot of balls hard. Played sound defense. Zander was unreal for us today. That was really good. Snead and Combs both coming out of the pen. You can't say enough good things about those 2 guys right there, and Zander too. They threw the ball really well today and gave us a really good chance to win.
What does it say about this team to win the SEC after losing your ace and losing the first series of conference play?
Yeah, I think that it shows a lot about who we are as a group. We're very resilient. I think like Hunter said, we never feel like we're out of a game ever. No matter if it's the first inning down 10 or 9th inning down 1. I feel like we're just 1 inning away from top to bottom. Stacking quality at bats together. Like you said, losing the first series and not panicking or anything like that, it just shows a lot about who we are as a bunch.
What was Zander so effective today out there?
He just threw a lot of strikes. He threw every pitch for a strike. Got ahead in counts early, pitched to contact. I don't know how many strikeouts he had, but he used his defense well. Defense made plays behind him, and we kind of rolled with that, with the pitch calling and stuff like that. Whenever he's throwing like he did today, it's very easy to play defense behind him and call a good game.
What do you feel like went so well in the 5th inning to be able to bring in 3 runs?
Really just stacking quality at bats. We hit a lot of balls hard earlier before that inning, so really not panicking. Kind of like we did last night. Knowing a big inning is coming, we'll string a few hits together, stuff like that. So really just stand with our approach, stand to who we are, and keep putting good swings on balls, and it happened.
Well, tell me about the.
I feel like they was up there with the Georgia outing for Zander's best of the year.
No doubt, yeah, no doubt. It was actually really similar to his outing against Georgia, commanding all of his pitches, throwing a lot of first pitch strikes, getting ahead of batters, using the defense. I feel like that's when he's best. Whenever he has all of his stuff going, and really just kind of can put the ball wherever he wants to.
Tell me about the relationship with the fans, all of them hanging out there, chanting SEC. What's that like with you guys and their support?
I mean, they're the best fans in the country. They fill this place up every single weekend, whether it's the first weekend here of the season or the last. So it's really easy to play in front of these guys, or guys and girls, sorry. Very easy to play in front of this fan base, and especially whenever we're winning. I mean, we feel their energy and their kind of willing us to win the ball game. So it's like I said. I mean, you can't say enough good things about this fan base for every sport, not just baseball.
How confident are you that this group won't be complacent going forward, and what's the key to not being complacent going forward?
Really, just telling yourself there's a lot more baseball to play. I mean, it's March 18th or whatever. We're hoping we're still playing for another month and a half, however long it goes. So knowing that there's a lot of job or a lot of goals still left to go after, it's just a thing that we're just going to keep telling ourselves.
Is there a particular eagerness for you to have a good week next week as a team down in Hoover after one and done last year?
I mean, yeah. Hopefully we go win one game down there this time, but no, can't think of it like that. Go down there, keep the momentum on our side, like we have coming out of this weekend. keep throwing the ball well, playing good defense, putting swings on balls. You know, nothing really changes. It's still just baseball.
How important is it for y'all to, I mean, yesterday was, 3 home runs to get 8 runs. Today, a lot of 2-strike hits, a lot of singles, a lot of moving the ball around, to run on the bases. How important is it for this team to have different ways to do things like that?
It's massive. We always talk about, we're a complete offense. We don't just rely on the long ball. We don't rely on bunting, anything. We can do anything, anytime. I think that says a lot about the offense that we have. We're just putting a one-run win, a run will win, just in our back pocket, knowing we can do it a lot of different ways. If we need to throw the ball better today, if we're going to rely on our defense, whatever. We're just putting it in our back pocket and then saving it for down the road.
Thanks, Kyle.
What was working so well for you today?
Just attacking more. Honestly, I feel like I've gotten away from just cutting the ball at some points and just missing my spots, but just being able to attack and hit my spots better today was definitely why I was able to go along and keep off the scoreboard.
What do you do, I guess, since last week at Vanderbilt when things didn't go the same way they went today?
You just got to go back to the drawing board. Honestly, you just got to reevaluate. I like to step back and reevaluate a lot of things, so that's what I did this week. Took a step back, reevaluated what I need to do, especially from back-to-back road starts being at Florida and Vandy. So I compared them, got a little bit of differences, but then went back to the Georgia start and then compared all 3. And then obviously today was pretty good.
What were some of the things from the Georgia start that you went back to maybe that provided for some success?
Just location of pitches. Because like I said, I was at Vandy. I was just cutting the ball over the middle, and I think that's where Espinal hit his backside homer. And it's just this game is so weird because some days a pitch doesn't get hit, and some days it's hit 450. So it comes and goes. It's good and bad with baseball. I mean, I won't lie, I've been frustrated these past 2 starts just trying to figure out how to get out of the first inning. And getting out of the first inning today was like, I felt like I went CG because I was like, okay, I can do this, but now we just have to extend it a little bit.
And
What
with
are some of
that-
the emotions and excitement behind winning the SEC title?
I'm blessed enough to have been a part of this for a while now, so it's just another thing under the belt. And obviously we got Hoover coming up, which is a fun place to be at because there's a Dave & Buster's to the left of the hotel. I still have my card from freshman year, and it's connected to a mall with some Chick-fil-A, about every option you can think of. So it'll be fun to go back to Hoover.
How important was it to have a strong outing today from a confidence standpoint going into the postseason?
Well, it's always good to get a question from Ryan Shipper, everybody, Rocky Top Insider.
Shumpet.
But the confidence, like I said, I just had to go back to the drawing board. Obviously, being frustrated, you don't try to show it, but sometimes it gets in the way a little bit. So, like I said, taking video of 3 different starts and putting them together on what we could do to have a good start today, and obviously the last start of the regular season here. I just wanted to go out on a high note after starting a lot of Tuesdays here. But, and that's not a bad thing at all. But, yeah, the confidence was a little low, but honestly, I just got to keep attacking, and obviously it worked well today.
You kind of touched on it, but seeing your regular season finale today and then the chance to win the SEC championship, any of that going through your mind while you're on the bump?
I got a little bit emotional afterwards. I wasn't like crying, but like I could feel myself getting a little bit emotional. Jeez, I'm stuttering. See, now look at you, you made me cry. I'm just kidding. But yeah, a lot of Tuesdays on that field, a lot of innings on that mound in particular, because I don't even know how many, and then all the fall on that mound. So it's just blood, sweat, and tears in the 4 years, and obviously the fans showed out today. So I got to thank Ball Nation for that.
You mentioned the midweek starts you've made and the bullpen roles you've held and all those things. What did it mean to be the guy who threw this game today that got you guys to an SEC title?
It just feels good. It feels like I got my confidence back a little bit at least, but obviously, like I said, baseball's a weird game. You got to take the highs and the lows. So obviously we'll just go back to the drawing board and see what worked today, and then we'll compare it to Georgia start because they're similar, except one had 7 Ks, one had 4, and then one had 1 walk, one didn't. But then we can reevaluate the Vandy and Florida and put them together, and then we can just get a good combination of each.
Going from a midweek guy to a Sunday starter, what does that payoff feel like for you in your career?
I guess longevity, but just being able to show that I can compete with SEC hitters. Was blessed enough to be in the cave last summer, and that gave me a little bit of a reality check. And seeing a bunch of D1 guys on teams like a D1 All-Star team, so doing that just helped me build confidence going into this year and being able to face SEC hitters.
How do you not look over your shoulder when the guy, you go into a Sunday, right, or Saturday in this case, and you know Snead hasn't thrown in a weekend either, and you know that like at some point he's got to get some innings too. How do you not just kind of fight the urge to look over your shoulder a little bit?
Just keep attacking. Obviously, I don't know how many pitches at 65, 68, 65. I mean, 65 pitches. I mean, you got to make it hard on the coaching staff to not pull you out. But obviously, Snead was going to get work regardless, no matter my pitch count anyway. But it was good to go 6 innings. Good to put up 6 zeros, and Snead did his job, Combs did his job, so yeah. And then obviously moving forward to Hoover, we're going to need him down the road anyway. So maybe boom, there's a little bit of a rest for Snead right there. And he'll be able to go longer next time.
George have to play something more. How goes the defense stay?
Oh yeah, I mean I try to do that every time. Just sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But yeah, the defense was good today. 3 double plays. I think that's the first time in my career, college and high school, that I've ever gotten 3 double plays. I usually get like 1. But we call those defensive home runs because they're momentum swingers. So yeah, it was good to see that, and the guys played well behind me.
How would you describe Cal's energy behind the plate?
Cal's energy. Cal, you know, we'll go back to Tuesday. So me and Chuck had a thing going. And then a couple Tuesdays, Cal would step in there. So we made a group chat. And we called him a home wrecker. So, you know, it didn't go off well to the start, but it was just a big old joke. But yeah, he's got great energy. Love throwing to that guy, and he's very comfortable to throw to. And no matter if the outing's going good or bad, you know you have a catcher behind the plate that's supporting you.
What gives him like that quarterback feel at the catcher position?
I guess because he can just see everything. Like, not to be cliche, but he can just see everything, see what's going on, and obviously. He's been doing the I think pitch comm thing, so him and A have been going back and forth with what pitches A suggests, blah blah that. But yeah, he's a great dude to throw to, and I couldn't thank him more.